I also have like wardrobe moments.
Oh, I had this. Yes. Let's talk about wardrobe for the client, because I'm sure this is something you counsel your clients on.
Yeah, like, are any of those outfits ones that you would recommend?
No. I mean, day 3, the day 3 outfit was okay.
That's what I was like.
Wait,
the
was
last
that
one?
Was that the newspaper jacket?
No, that was like day 2. I think the last day she was like the most.
I can't remember.
Normal. And that's the thing. It was like, even outside of the courtroom, those were all terrible choices, even in 2001, I think, you know?
Today's Movie Verdicts episode of Lone Star Lawyers on the Varsity Podcast Network is brought to you by Varsity Search. Varsity Search specializes in helping small law firms in Texas hire lawyers and build great teams, like the Elle Woods defense team in Legally Blonde. So if you're thinking of making a move or your law firm is looking to hire, please go to varsitysearch.com and book a time to visit right into my calendar. Varsity Search, building great teams. Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands. They just don't. It's time for Legally Blonde.
One of the reasons I wanted to come here tonight was to discuss our future.
Of course.
I plan on running for office someday.
Warner.
I think we should break up.
What?
Elle. If I'm gonna be a senator, I need someone serious.
I'm seriously in love with you.
I love you.
Liar! This is the type of girl that Warner wants to marry. A law student. Going to Harvard is the only way I'm going to get the love of my life back. For my admissions essay, I'm going to tell all of you why I'm going to make an amazing lawyer. I feel comfortable using legal jargon in everyday life. I object.
Her list of extracurricular activities is impressive.
She was in a Ricky Martin video.
Aren't we always looking for diversity?
Welcome to Harvard.
Don't be scared. Everyone will love you.
Elle? I'm sorry, are you here to see me?
I go here.
You got into Harvard Law?
What, like it's hard? I'll show you how valuable Elle Woods can be.
MGM Pictures presents...
You have a resume? It's pink.
And it's scented. I think it gives it a little something extra.
A comedy about knowing who you are.
You think she just woke up one morning and said, I think I'll go to law school today?
And showing what you've got.
We're defending Brooke Window. You can buy her exercise tips on infomercials.
Wait! Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands.
You're fired.
What?
I have new representation.
Reese Witherspoon.
Do you remember when we spent those 4 amazing hours in the hot tub after winter formal? This is so much better than that!
Legally Blonde.
Oh, look how cute! There's like a judge and everything! Love for Elle!
All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of Movie Verdicts on Lone Star Lawyers.
Yay.
As always, Robert Callahan is back with us.
Say it.
Baylor Law's finest. Robert Callahan.
Oh my goodness! See, you're only doing that because your wife is here.
Absolutely not.
But thank you.
I'm doing that 100% for you.
I feel flattered.
Of Callahan and King Law Firm in Waco, Daniel Hare with Varsity Search, and Robert alluded to our very, very special guest, my wife, Adrienne Hare. Adrienne's here to give us the female perspective of this movie because it felt a little weird with Robert and I doing Legally Blonde. The two of us. It just didn't seem like it would make much sense.
Thank goodness.
So we are super thrilled to have you and appreciate being here.
Now we're a
Why
legit.
didn't you say where I work?
I will let you introduce yourself to
from
the
Hare
to the
household.
audience. Right, we've got like 8 jobs going around here with homeschooling and communications and also working in Varsity Search. And she's just got like 8 jobs right now. So
it'd take too long.
Take too long to go through all the jobs. All right. Well, super excited to do this movie. We watched it together 3 or 4 nights ago, and it had been a while since I had seen it, and so it was fun to go back and just watch it again. Robert, when you went back, what were some of the things that jumped out to you? What did you notice about Legally Blonde watching it back?
Well, I mean, just how young Reese Witherspoon looks.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, and she still doesn't look old. I found out that she's about 40, 44 now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she doesn't look really much any older, but it's just amazing how young and naive she looks in the movie.
Right.
I noticed a couple of our tests, but I will wait to get to that.
Wait, did you find a person of color in this movie? I had to look really hard.
let's not get crazy.
Okay. Let's say.
But no, but I know it's the whole plot line in the movie, but just the fact that she is so ditzy and naive, like it just smacks you in the head.
Oh yeah.
But it's a good movie. It's still enjoyable.
Oh man, I enjoyed it a lot. Adrienne?
It was good. Same as I remember.
Same as you remember. Well, so going through just I'll kind of run through the stats and everything. So it was released in 2001, summer 2001. So one of the last movies pre 9/11. So we don't have some big cultural thing happening related to that just yet. But as you mentioned, Robert, I mean, certainly Reese Witherspoon is on a rocket ship towards stardom. And so I think we should probably spend a little time talking about Reese, obviously the lead role. She had already done a handful of pretty, I think, well-known movies as well. I think I first saw her in Fear with Mark Wahlberg and Alyssa Milano. And then Cruel Intentions, which was also with Selma Blair from this movie, and Ryan Philippe from our Lincoln Lawyer movie. And Adrienne, did you say they're married?
No, they were married.
They were married.
Married for 8 years. Yeah.
Okay, they were Ryan Philippe and Reese.
No longer.
And then Election, which is a crazy movie with Matthew Broderick and Reese. So all before this. So we can spend time talking about her for sure. Luke Wilson is, I would say, most known for Old School, for sure, and also as Owen Wilson's brother and kind of the things they've done together. But I think he's great in this movie. I really liked him here. Selma Blair, I just mentioned, plays Vivian Kensington, and she was, as I said, also in Cruel Intentions with Reese Witherspoon. Matthew Davis plays Warner. Victor Garber plays Professor Callahan. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Jennifer Coolidge is one of my favorites. Maybe most famous as Stifler's mom from the American Pie movies, but also the masseuse in Seinfeld who will not submit to forcible massage. Good for her.
What do you mean no?
No means no.
Look, who you kidding? You come up to my apartment with your table and your little oils, and I'm not supposed to expect anything? You're a massage teaser.
Listen, I massage who I want, when I want. I don't submit to forcible massage.
And Holland Taylor as Professor Stromwell and Ali Larder as Brooke Wyndham, the defendant. Probably most famous for Whipped Cream Bikini and Varsity Blues. So go Ali,
that's her?
Go Ali Larder.
Oh, no.
So that's our cast.
Can I just tell you, he had that one pegged.
Yeah, who did you say I thought it
quick in the
was? Or
movie.
who did you think
I can't remember who I said it
Oh,
was.
no,
I
you
was
said-
like, oh, that's a girl from like the Doritos commercial or
Oh,
something
right.
like that. And he was like, oh, no, that was...
Ali Landry.
There you go. And he was like, no, I think she's the girl in American Pie, with the bikini. And I was like, no, I think that was Tara Reid. And then he was like,
yeah, you said Tara Reid.
that was somebody... I mean, he had them all.
So I will confess to an era of like 2000 to 2003 where there may have been a few Maxim magazines laying around the apartment in college
Some
and grad
notable
school.
ladies.
And everybody that we just talked about, I think, was on the cover of them at one time or another.
Let me tell you, I watched this with my wife. I watched it twice.
Yeah.
I watched it with my wife the second time. And she loves this movie too. And she pegged Linda Cardellini, the lady.
Oh, yeah. the witness, the ultimate.
Yes.
The killer.
Stepsister.
Yes. Do you know what movie she was popular for last year, or maybe the year before last? I think it was last year.
I looked her up, and I forgot now. I did look her up, though.
She was Hawkeye's wife in the Avengers series.
Okay. Yeah.
Starting with Age of Ultron, and then she shows up again in Endgame.
Yeah.
And looks nothing like she did when this movie was made, and yet my wife pegged it.
No, hey, that's what was weird. So I'm so glad you said that, because when I did look her up, I was going to add her to the cast list here, but I decided not to. But when I looked her up, I thought I was looking at the wrong person. Yeah. And I had to really go back and forth to make sure I had the right person, because it did not look at all like her. Of course, she's sitting there in that super permed hair. So she's obviously gotten it wet since then. No, it looks nothing like her. So that was interesting for sure. The movie is actually adapted from a novel written by Amanda Brown. And the screenwriters, the adapted screenwriters for this, also wrote 10 Things I Hate About You. Which has a lot of similarities. You can see the writing style and just sort of the perspective and things. This was is a 6.3 on IMDb and a 70 and 72 on Rotten Tomatoes. So well liked by critics and audience. Made $141 million worldwide on just a $18 million budget. Reese made $1 million. And for Legally Blonde 2, which I think we could just throw in the Godfather 3 pile for the most part. She made 15 for that one. So that's just sort of shows the trajectory she was on after this movie. But it was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Movie in the Comedy Musical category, and as well as Reese for Best Actress. It was a Moulin Rouge year, and that won everything. But yeah, those are the stats. Anything jump out to you guys from any of those facts about the movie? Adrienne's shaking her head. She's waiting. She's
so basic.
To jump.
I just want to talk about the dog.
Oh yeah, she wants to talk about the dog. We've got a Chihuahua story coming.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got nothing. I have not seen Legally Blonde 2. Fair disclosure.
Well, and that's I mean, I actually looked it up just for a second to see that on IMDb it was like 4 point something on the.
It bombed. I think I saw it and I don't remember it.
I think I saw it too, but I also do not remember it.
Then how do you explain that poster of Legally Blonde 2 behind you, sir?
This is a green screen. That's just I've just thrown that on here for the. No. Okay, so major themes of the movie. What do we learn out of this? What major takeaways do we have from this movie?
I don't feel like I'm the best voice in the room to speak on this. It's obvious that she is a woman that's overcoming adversity, and that is a timeless real story. And so I think that we can appreciate that that's true in the year of 2020. I think that we're finally at the place where we can admit that women do have a difficult time in professional settings, probably in non-professional settings as well. And she rises up to the challenge and shows her abilities, despite what everybody thinks about her. So, I think the graduation speech at the end kind of speaks to that, but I'm going to save that for my closing arguments.
Nice. Adrienne, what about that? Like, what about the overcoming adversity as a female, kind of in the working place especially, but also the idea of not being recognized for who you are on the inside versus who you are on the outside and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of hits on that. I think it's it's done in a lighthearted way. So it's not like, I feel like I don't know, as a woman who's been blonde most of her life, I definitely think that it was like, you go because it's going to be a fun, like, rom-com, and this is a whole other sidebar, but I would like to hear your take on, like, pre-law school, what you think of the movie versus, like, after, as someone who doesn't have a law degree. I didn't pick up on a lot of the, like, legal stuff, but, there's definitely a thread of, like, you can be who you are, and be good in whatever area. But then there's also this theme the whole time I'm watching the movie going, don't ever follow a guy. Like, why are you following a man who clearly is a jerk to try to win him back? Like, that's so stupid. Like, you're so much better than that. Like, value yourself more than that. But then on the other hand, it's like you go to Harvard with your amazing scores and then you end up finding something you're passionate about in something that maybe she initially didn't necessarily feel like she was fully cut out to do. So, there are several different threads, but there's a lot of, like, girls can do anything vibe, which is, it's fine. It's good.
Well, and part of, I thought about that, like, about chasing the guy across the country or whatever. And one of the things, especially once she gets there and learns that, or at least thinks she learns that she's never going to be good enough for him, and kind of turns her attention to becoming the best law student and lawyer she can be, is part of it came across to me is she's someone who has either never been told no, from the standpoint of, like, she's always been able to succeed, like, in the ways that she's chosen a path, and that path up till now has always been one that she's been able to succeed. She's probably won all the pageants. She's got her 4.0 in the fashion merchandising thing. And all the way up till she assumed she was going to get her guy. And this is the first time she's kind of got it. Like, she's kind of hit in the face with a rejection of that kind. And then, so she's super competitive. Like, I thought she was super competitive and was determined to win. Like, so she goes after him almost more for, like, wait, I don't lose. Like, I win. She's full of self-confidence and thinks she's as good enough for him. She has doubts throughout the movie, as everyone does, but I think, it's a competitive nature and streak that actually turns into helping make her a great lawyer too.
Yeah. I think we even see that in the dress store when she's thinking she's going to get proposed to.
Yes.
And she tells off the lady that's trying to pawn off last season's dress to her.
That's great.
There's nothing I love more than a dumb blonde with daddy's plastic.
He gets excited when he
Did you see this one? We just got it in yesterday.
Oh, is this low viscosity rayon?
Yes, of course.
With a half loop top stitching on the hem?
Absolutely. It's one of a kind.
It's impossible to use a half loop top stitching on low viscosity rayon. It would snag the fabric. And you didn't just get it in. I saw it in the June Vogue a year ago. So if you're trying to sell it to me for full price, you picked the wrong girl.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great scene. Well, and then from, like, the shifting over to, like, the law school and legal side of things, I found there to be quite a few, overall sort of truths about being a law student and going to law school throughout the movie. I thought there were a lot of good pieces to it. I think the idea of going from a 143 to 179 on the LSAT's probably unrealistic for most people. Maybe not for Elwoods.
Yeah.
But for most people. But I think also it does highlight what I think is still true today, which is getting into law school, whether it be Harvard or Baylor or anywhere else, is ultra dependent upon LSAT and GPA. And for as much as we want to talk about trying to put together diverse class cohorts and things like that, those are, I think, still for the most part across the country operating on the fringes. And that for the most part, 90-95% is determined by LSAT and GPA. And so it was funny to kind of watch that admissions committee of old white dudes sitting around that table talking about whether or not.
Let's talk about the young girl in the red bikini.
We'll just pause it here in the bikini shot while we talk about her. And stretching the diversity definition to include fashion merchandising and which I know that their law schools do try to, embrace different majors and stuff. But like I said, I think most of that's happening on the peripheral of the reality. So
we're always looking for diversity, and then it pans around the room full of old white guys. I was like, yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and
for reference, she got a 179 and a perfect score is a 180.
Yeah.
Which,
right.
So what, that's what, so what is, is there a percentage that's in general of like who gets a 180? Is that like no one ever gets a 180? Like 1 out of every 10,000 people gets a 180? Like what's the?
I think I actually read, so I did not put this in my notes, but I actually think I read on notes to this movie that the 179 is like 0.1% maybe of the overall population taking it. So like not in the 99th percentile, in the 99.9. So
for a 179.
Right.
Yeah.
So 180 is like a couple less than that. A couple people less than that made that.
Yeah. According to the interwebs, from 2006 to 2009, all LSATs administered approximated 144,000 per year, and only 0.1 received a 180.
Okay, so there you go, 0.1 on the 180. Yeah, I mean, so then the other thing that just from a lawyer standpoint, and Robert, I'd like for you to talk a little more about this, either whether it's now or later when we talk about client stuff, is the importance of being able to develop a level of rapport and trust with your client. We got to see a complete dichotomy of that here because there was such a mistrust between the client and the actual lawyer, Callahan, versus what the client had with Elle. So that's, I mean, I think that, just, and whether it's directly to the client so much as it is just developing trust with relationships in the professional setting, could even broaden it out to that. But just how important that can be and is to not only doing the right things, but also being as effective as possible.
Yeah. And by the way, are we just going to rush by the fact that the bad guy's name was Callahan?
I was not going to, raise that unless you were. But
you just didn't plan on touching that when you picked this movie, is what you want me to believe.
No, not at all.
It's completely. I mean, it is legitimate that relationship is so important because clients, especially criminal defendants, particularly who have been through the system before, maybe had bad representation, been run over by the system, kind of know their way around the system a little bit. They need to be able to trust their attorneys, and building that relationship is really a slow process. And I think that when you have other people that are working on your team that can connect with that person on a personal level, it really does make a huge difference. I've seen that even with my interns, believe it or not. I've seen it with staff members. We have one of our staff members that we sort of call our designated mom. And all our clients know that if they're just feeling like I need to fall apart and I need a hug and just talk to somebody and cry, that's their lady. That's what she's there for. So very important. And I think it's a good example of it here, although it's somewhat comical.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, there's plenty of comedy in that part as well. All right, well, let's get into the awards and walk through this a little bit. As I was doing these, it felt somewhat similar to me as last week when we were talking about Liar, Liar, and how kind of the overall movie was, less about the actual court case that was sort of the legal component to the movie. It was more about letting Jim Carrey kind of do his thing and kind of put it in the context of a lawyer in a court case. And similar here, I mean, we have the court case of Brooke Wyndham is sort of like that divorce case in Liar, Liar in the way that it's kind of just, it's there to kind of allow the other things to happen around it. Mm-hmm. But different here is that we also have a lot of the other parts for this movie are in law school and law school related. So there's more of that's playing in too versus what we had in Liar Liar. But anyway, for best lawyering, our best lawyering award, I've got a few nominees for this. I am definitely interested to hear what others there might be. So from like a procedural standpoint, towards the end, when Brooke Wyndham decides to fire Callahan and have Elle represent her, having the case and the statutes and all that, the rules to get to the judge so that they can admit her to the bar there to represent Brooke with the oversight of Luke Wilson's character. So that's just a procedural one that was fun to watch. And then which was basically like her doing a student bar card kind of like a third year bar card kind of scenario as we would have here in Texas. And then in terms of like arguments and crosses, the kind of 4-question quick hitter Emmett cross of the pool guy.
Yes! So good.
And maybe we should just listen to that real quick.
Did you ever take Mrs. Wyndham on a date?
Yes.
Where?
A restaurant in Concord where no one could recognize us.
And how long have you been sleeping with Mrs. Wyndham?
3 months.
And your boyfriend's name is?
Chuck.
Right.
Silence! Pardon me.
Yes, Mr. Salvatore.
I was confused.
Oh.
You see, I thought you said friend. Chuck is just a friend.
Oh, okay.
You bitch! Talk away! Silence in my court. Sit down, Mr. Salvatore.
Okay. And your boyfriend's name is? Chuck. Oh, what? Love that.
And you can't skip past the fact that then he tries to fix it and he says, no, he's not my boyfriend. And Chuck stands up, storms out the courtroom, you beep.
Yeah. Well, so what's funny about that is like, so Chuck's going to be in the gallery. So they've obviously coordinated the whole thing in part. So the pool boy has told Chuck, hey, I got to go up there. I got to say a couple things about being, Brooke's lover or whatever. It's all a lie. I'm just saying it because, whatever. But the part that it ends before it begins with how to say Chuck's just my friend. That part was never discussed beforehand. And so that sets Chuck off. That's fantastic. And then in the sense of like real lawyering, once Elle kind of has the light bulb of the perm, because she's going into that questioning not knowing that and not knowing who did this thing, but when she light bulbs and then has the cross on the actual shooter with the perm and connects all the dots, I think that's in terms of the lawyering in this movie anyway, that's what we've got. What other lawyering options do we have?
Yeah, I think that the moment where Elle is crossing Chutney.
Yeah, Chutney.
And about the...
do I talk about that name?
Yeah, that is, man,
falls for that?
Thoughts and prayers to you and anyone that is named that. Your mom just did not love you, and that's clear, which just culminates in that bad hairstyle in the courtroom. But I think that moment, like, it is worth listening to because that is I ordered the code red moment.
Yeah.
Kenny, why is it that Tracy Marcinko's curls were ruined when she got hosed down?
Because they got wet?
Exactly. Because isn't it the first cardinal rule of perm maintenance that you're forbidden to wet your hair for at least 24 hours after getting a perm at the risk of deactivating the ammonium thioglycolate?
Yes.
And wouldn't somebody who's had, say, 30 perms before in their life be well aware of this rule? And if in fact you weren't washing your hair, as I suspect you weren't because your curls are still intact, wouldn't you have heard the gunshot? And if in fact you had heard the gunshot, Brooke Wyndham wouldn't have had time to hide the gun before you got downstairs, which would mean that you would have had to have found Mrs. Wyndham with a gun in her hand to make your story plausible. Isn't that right?
She's my age. Did she tell you that? How would you feel if your father married someone who was your age?
You, however, had time to hide the gun, didn't you, Chutney? After you shot your father.
I didn't mean to shoot him. I thought it was you walking through the door.
Order, order. Order.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's funny because she starts off, you know, there's that whole little scene where she's kind of trying to find her way. Yeah. And she's doing the whole like circular logic on the shower thing. Adrienne loves that part.
It's not circular though. It's like, so you were in the shower. And everyone's like, yep. And then it's like, and it's literally, you can see in her brain, it's like buying time. There's got to be something. And for someone who doesn't have like a law degree or putting mystery together, and it really does pull the thread through the movie where she catches the sales lady, you know, trying to sell her a last year for full price. And then even with the pool guy and the shoes, then to kind of do the perm thing. I remember the first time seeing that, thinking like, I know this because I, you know, as a girl who wanted to perm her hair in the 80s, I was like, I knew that it's actually 3 days is ideal that you don't get your hair wet. So anyway, when she started going on that thread, like I knew exactly where she was going, and I'm like, yes, she's going to get her. This is awesome. So anyway.
Which, by the way, Adrienne, can we talk about your hair color? Because you said that you're a blonde.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well,
there's definitely there's blonde in your hair, but I would not have said she's a blonde.
Oh no. So it's been, I would say it's been colored blonde.
Oh, okay.
Like I would say most of the time we're married, but I was blonde as a child, and it has just progressively gotten like to dishwater, and now I would say it's almost a light brown, my natural color.
Okay.
But I just keep it blondish.
I mean, when we first met, I would say you were totally blonde.
Yeah.
Like you had it colored or whatever, but you're totally blonde.
So what happens when you get old, your hair gets darker. So no one told me that.
So what you're saying is you identify as a blonde.
I do. Yeah.
There you go.
No, no. I was going to go down another path. I'll keep it here. Yes, I do identify as blonde.
Okay.
I left out another lawyering option for this award, which is Elle going to get the alibi, because they don't wind up using it per se, but they do. I mean, she's able to use it to be convincing of her innocence and to kind of encourage the team to keep working under that, you know, assumption. But that was another back to that client trust thing. She was able to get her to tell her the alibi, even though they couldn't actually use it. But
that's why I think she gets a nomination both on the lawyer side and on the Erin Brockovich Award side.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because
she goes both ways. She's part of the movie. She's a non-lawyer, and then part of the movie she's acting as a lawyer.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No, that's
can
true.
Can you win an award for both non-lawyer and lawyer in the same movie?
Well, I think we should talk about whether as the law students acting as lawyers in this movie, they should be ineligible for the Erin Brockovich Award. But I was prepared to have that conversation, so I'm glad you brought it up. But we can save it if you want to save it that one for Erin Brockovich. Okay, then we can do that. All right. So do we have a best lawyering moment of the ones we've talked about?
How about Callahan for getting out of Dodge when he's just going to be in the way and he's being replaced as a lawyer? No, I don't know. I don't have any other ones really.
Well, of the ones who said, I mean, I think, Elle's. I mean, I'm really tempted to go with Emmett's Cross, but it's hard to not go with Elle's of Chutney. So, L's Cross of Chutney winner. Yeah, Adrienne's shaking her head.
Oh
yes.
man, see, I would have gone with Emmett, but I'm outvoted. I also can we talk about how, you know, maybe if you live in the same house and you eat dinner at the same table and sleep in the same bed, maybe you should only get one vote.
Oh wow!
I'm just throwing that out there. I mean,
okay, no,
I don't. We can have a collective vote.
It would take a little time for us to caucus and come up with our collective votes on stuff. We just don't have time.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't need you gerrymandering and diluting my vote. So I just.
This is different with 3, isn't it? No, so the one question, actually, I had this for you actually on Emmett's Cross, right? Is, you know, we talk a lot about the rule on Cross of not asking a question you don't know the answer to. And while he knew that, or he thought he knew that the pool boy was gay, he didn't know he necessarily had a boyfriend. So when he gets to that part of the question, you know, I mean, you know, he's asking several questions that he doesn't know the answer to. He's totally taking a risk.
Yeah.
As he's going through that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
When I was taught the rule on cross-examination that you only lead on cross-examination, my professor gave me an asterisk, and this is shout out to Mark Osler. He said the exception is if you want to do an open-ended question you don't know the answer to, you can ask it if the answer can't possibly hurt you.
Yeah.
So in this situation, you know, he doesn't know what the boyfriend's name is, or that for sure that he has a boyfriend. So if he had caught it, if Salvatore had caught it and said, "Oh no, I don't have a boyfriend because I'm straight," then it would have been pretty easy to play that off and say, "Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry."
Right.
So that makes
sense.
It was all reward, no risk.
Good. I'm glad we cleared that up. All right. Aaron Brockovich, best discovery moment, investigative moment, and question about who's eligible for this award for sure.
There's one correct answer.
Since if we go down the cast list, everyone's either a lawyer, a law student, except for the client and Paulette, the salon nail stylist, and a couple of the other very, very minor characters. So it is tough to do an Aaron Brockovich award in this one without using the law students. So yeah, I have, if we don't use law students, I don't have an Aaron Brockovich award to give out today. So Robert, you clearly had prepared for law student Aaron Brockovich award winners. So what do you got on this?
I have a spicy take. So here's my nominee.
I like spicy takes.
Okay. This was a person that supported Elle from the very beginning, was with her all the way through to the end. Okay. This is a person who understood the value of just being present, which is so important, and not necessarily speaking, but just hearing what she had to say, what was on her heart and what's going on in the room. Someone that acted as an inspiration for her. I'm giving a nomination to Bruiser, the Chihuahua.
That's a great nomination.
Yeah, I concur.
Do you want to talk about Bruiser?
Yeah, so Bruiser, fun fact. So Bruiser's
the dog, by
Chihuahua
the way.
In the movie, like is famous from the movie, and then also I think appears in the second movie. Obviously cannot appear in any future movies because he has gone to be with the dog heaven.
Right.
But so in the movie, Bruiser's watching while she's on the treadmill, like trying to study or whatever, and Bruiser was watching a Taco Bell commercial. So the lady that trains Bruiser, her name's Sue Chipperton, and she had Bruiser and then the Taco Bell dog. Oh gosh, I can't even think of the name. It's like whatever the Taco Bell dog's real name was. But they lived together. They were like roomies. So fun fact, and he was watching it in the movie.
Yeah,
So
okay.
cute.
Back in the day, Taco Bell Chihuahua was big.
But was Bruiser ever in the courtroom?
There was one time where he barked and a witness sort of jumped back.
The DA jumped. Bruiser jumped out of her bag, and the DA jumped out of her chair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was the enforcer, the intimidator.
So that is my first nomination.
Bruiser's a good one. And then, yeah, if you want to use Elle going to get the alibi, like we were saying before, that's certainly a key moment that's sort of in the pretrial discovery phase as well.
Bruiser's real name is Mooney, by the way, and the Taco Bell dog's real name is Gidget.
Gidget, yes.
Mooney and Gidget.
Yeah, and I think Gidget appears in the second movie as Bruiser's like mom or something.
Oh, okay.
So cute. I'm also gonna throw out a nomination for the moment. So we've already talked about the fact that Emmett on cross-examination exposes the fact that Salvatore is gay, but that information came from Elle. So I think that's an Aaron Brockovich worthy moment. So
I would be in favor of giving it to that specific moment, actually, because that's one that got used in court and was key to part of the case. So I mean, I think that's the winner right there is that investigative work there and putting together that that the straight guys don't know their shoes. Right.
Most don't. I think a few probably do.
Yeah, generally speaking.
But yes.
We don't know much about shoes.
All in favor?
Say aye.
I'm down.
Yeah, see, there you go. All right, let's take a quick break so I can let you know that right now Varsity Search is offering free consultations with law firms that are trying to think about if and how to go about hiring lawyers in 2020. Maybe you were about to pull the trigger on hiring before COVID-19 and want to be prepared when things return to normal, or maybe just the nature of your practice has led to a more immediate need. Either way, we want to be a resource for you. So you can go to varsitysearch.com/law firms and book a time to visit right into my calendar, and we will have that conversation. Varsity Search, building great teams. All right, let's get back to Legally Blonde. All right. The Chamberlain Haller Award for Best Judge Moment. We were talking, Adrienne and I, just before we came on here, and they didn't really give the judge a whole lot to do in this movie. So I think we're kind of stretching to give awards out on a judge moment here. My nominee is when Elle starts talking and gives kind of the law school definition of mens rea. And the judge says, I'm aware of the meaning of mens rea, and what I'm unaware of is why you're giving me a vocabulary lesson when you should be questioning your witness.
Yeah. That's a good moment.
That's my judge moment.
So I like the moment where kind of the code red moment has happened, and we're going to go to the immediate Article 42, whatever kind of moment. So the judge says, take the witness into custody where she will be charged with the murder of Hayworth Wyndham. This case is dismissed.
Yeah.
And there is great weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Okay, and so in real life, though, does that actually happen? Like if someone admits
he's shaking his head.
This ended, and I was like, wait. Does a judge just do that? Like, is that how that works? And then she's like, oh, Miss Wyndham, you're free to go. I'm like, that doesn't seem like that is the case in real life. But no. I've only been in
Robert,
one court case ever.
In the event that you got someone else to admit to the murder on the stand while your client's sitting there being proclaimed innocent, what would be the next step? What would happen?
Yeah, so I would move for – so you've got to finish the case out.
Yeah.
Because this prosecution still gets to have their say and present their evidence. So when they're done with their case, when they've rested their evidence, then you can move for a directed verdict. The judge may or may not grant that. If the judge does grant a directed verdict, it's basically the judge saying, yes, there's insufficient evidence here and I'm dismissing the case. Judges are hesitant to do that in my experience because they feel sort of like, well, why did I waste this jury's time? The jury should come to the right conclusion. Parentheses, juries don't always come to the right conclusion. So judge, go ahead and make the call. So then if the judge grants it, you're done and the defendant is released. But that really ends the judge's jurisdiction, because whether or not a person is charged with an offense is a decision of the prosecutor, whether that be the state district attorney or whether that be the federal United States attorney. So the judge, I think, can maybe hold the witness over on bond as maybe a material witness or something like that. I say hold on bond, but like, actually, I don't without the judge would have to make some sort of probable cause determination that was followed up by someone in law enforcement. So I think even maybe the bailiffs in the courtroom could do that. But the point being that it's not her call to make that person's going to be charged with the crime.
Yeah. Yeah. Good clarification.
Okay.
What do you make of, if anything, the fact that I think 3 movies now, we've had My Cousin Vinny. No, sorry, not My Cousin Vinny. We had A Few Good Men, and we had Liar Liar, where there's not really any diversity in the movie cast as a whole, but they cast a judge that's African American or minority, and it almost seems kind of like, oh, we didn't get this elsewhere, but by putting this person in a position of authority, maybe we're sort of putting them in a minorities in a light or a spot of honor. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think that there is probably something to that, honestly. Like, I mean, I think, and particularly when, and I think we've said this in the last 2 movies, Liar Liar and this one, where I'm starting off by saying it's hard to find a award for this because they don't give the judge a lot to do. I mean, whereas in My Cousin Vinny, the Chamberlain Haller, he's being cast specifically and very intentionally and given a lot to do, and given a lot of lines. It's an important part of the case, the whole thing. And I think we've done maybe a couple other movies where there was a white judge and also not given a whole lot. Similarly, but yeah, I think that there is probably something to that.
I mean, I'm always for diversity in a movie. So if there's any opportunity for a minority or a woman or anyone of a diverse background to have a role in a movie, I'm for it. It almost feels, at least in those 3 movies, like an afterthought.
Right.
Sort of like, we missed this in casting and we've got to freshen this up somehow. How can we do that? We're going to put this person in a role that's very visible, even though they don't necessarily have a lot to do in that role. But it does, I think, sometimes lead to they got roles in other things because they were recognized as being the judge. So, some work is better than no work. But I would love to see, a more diverse general cast.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It makes sense. Well, all right, last one before we take our short little recess. So the Colonel Jessup Award, speaking of A Few Good Men earlier, for the best witness moment. We've kind of already done the gay pool boy Enrique on the stand. And talked a little bit about that, so I assume that could be a nominee for sure, and as well as the stepdaughter. I
mean, the only witnesses I recall there being was Wyndham Vandermark, which was the ex-wife, Lady in the Big Hat, Chetney, Salvatore, and I think that's it. Mm-hmm. So. My money goes to Salvatore because
Adrienne's shaking her head. Yes,
it was so good.
Yeah, and even just the direct cross examination when he's lying through his teeth. He's so swarmy. He's kind of the opposite side of the coin from the guy from the Lincoln Lawyer that's so smoozy.
How many of these have we had now? There was Liar Liar and Lincoln Lawyer and this one. We've got this like slimy kind of guy.
Yeah, he's like, and we made love together.
My favorite little line that he has in this one is, define affair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you or are you not having an affair with Brooke Wyndham?
Define affair.
How close in time was this to Clinton's whole, investigation to find the word?
Those were 2001 or a little beyond it, but yeah, still fresh in the minds. Yeah,
yeah, that's
and the prosecutor does use the phrase "sexual relations." Did you have sexual relations?
Yeah. I think the best part of Salvatore though is day 2. His outfit,
so good.
The outfit change.
Oh my goodness, he's wearing a long sleeve red, green, and white Mexican theme complete with the Virgin Mary, the picture of her that's like standing over the half moon and like that. I mean, it just classic. That was just fantastic and so different from the day that he started testifying. Very conservative.
Adrienne, what'd you like about the pool guys?
I mean, it's just witty. And the first day, like his first testimony when he was kind of faking it, you could tell like he was lying, but you couldn't really tell for sure. Like, okay, what's the twist here? And then the second day, it's like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It was a fun one to watch.
All right, cool. Well, I think that definitely wins. So let's do our tests here in our brief recess. The Bechdel test, 2 women talking about something other than a man.
That's all it's got to be.
We had a lot of women talking in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot about Warner. And a lot about the trailer park guy that tossed out Paulette.
And about the UPS package guy.
And about the package guy, who's great.
I got a package.
He's so good. And doesn't say anything hardly.
No. Yeah. His lines are all nonverbal for the most part.
Like the weird smiles that he does.
Yeah.
Is so great.
Yeah. This was a rough test because I feel like technically there are multiple opportunities and multiple small entries in this test, but we've got nothing of real quality or depth. So we've got Vivian talking to Elle when she's saying you can't sit with us at the study group,
right?
Which, by the way, you can't sit with us, reference to not Clueless, which is Mean Girls. Thank you.
Yep,
which I feel like this movie, like Mean Girls and Clueless,
and Mean Girls,
they're all sort of on like this timeline. Like this could be the same character in different parts of life.
Right.
But so there's that. There's the moment where Vivian is talking to Elle in the hallway of the dorm, inviting her to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's, saying like, hey, you
setting her up for the costume party.
But see, okay, so I just found out about this award. But in both of those instances, Vivian neither of them were talking about a boy, but the entire conversation was revolved around like, I want you to embarrass yourself.
Yes.
So that you don't get my man.
Yes.
Or I don't want you to sit with us because my boyfriend, or I guess fiance, they're engaged.
Right. Yes.
Now, Warner is a shadow over those conversations.
Yes.
Yeah. So they weren't directly talking about him, but it was such a huge piece of it that I don't know that I would even classify that as a legitimate.
Yeah.
I don't think that counts.
No, that's why that's why Robert's kind of saying, I think that they're like
you're just
minor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you have to pull something, that's what
I've got one minor one and one that I think actually might be a solid one. So the one minor one that I have is just Professor Holland and Elle anytime that's just Socratic method law school stuff. So, just the back and forth between professor and student in class. It's technically.
Was that the, I thought her name was Stromwell.
Or who did I say?
Holland, but I could be wrong.
Oh, that's the actress's name. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Holland Taylor's the actress. Professor Stromwell is the professor.
Yes.
So any of the back and forth between professor and student in class is a minor entry into this, I would say. And then the one actually is getting the alibi from the client. I mean, that's a fairly significant conversation. It's talking about the history they have together at the club and all that. It's about what she was doing, which was liposuction. There wasn't really any.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't talking about a guy, and I don't feel like there was a guy kind of shadow over it either. I mean, I think that was a substantive conversation that was important to the movie.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of best shot at this.
No.
I agree. I like that. But between Brooke and Elle, I like that conversation. It did start sort of with where's Callahan, but
right.
No, it did.
But I do think that it was a substantive conversation. It was between two women. It was not primarily about a man. And I even like that one better than the conversation with Professor Stromwell in class, because there was even sort of a subtext or shadow, like you all were saying earlier, of the competition over Warner involved in that conversation. Like when the professor says, would you support my decision to kick Miss Woods out of class? And then Vivian says, yes, I would, Professor. And then the professor turns her back, and then Vivian kind of looks over at Elle and does a little nod with a smile. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. That was so great. By the way, show of hands, who's been kicked out of class? I'm the only one raising my hand. Just gonna say, it's true.
No,
thanks, Professor Powell. Love you.
I think I got kicked out a couple of times. Well, I got kicked out in high school, bro. I got kicked out.
Well, sorry,
algebra. Like what?
But in a law school setting, and kind of you either weren't prepared or that was dumb kind of context.
Bro, my worst moment in law school wasn't a kick out. It was worse than that. I started to fall asleep in Professor Powell's class.
Oh, Powell again.
And I mean, it's a common thread here. And this is one of those, you're up reading 200 pages the night before type situations. And I hear kind of in the back consciousness of my mind, Mr. Callahan, you're not falling asleep in my class, are you? And I realize, oh no, I'm asleep. And I wake up and he's staring at me and he says, why don't you go do the stairs for a while? And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm disoriented because I did just wake up. And so where am I? What's going on? So I start walking towards the door. He's like, no, those stairs over there will do. And he's talking about the ones in the classroom. So I'm walking up and down the stairs by the students as he's lecturing. He let me go at least a good 20 times, bro.
But you didn't get kicked out.
I didn't get kicked out, but it would almost be better just kill me now.
Go get the cup of coffee. Yeah. All right. The Callahan hair test. Do we even need to spend any time on this one? I couldn't find it.
First, can you tell the audience? Let's remind them what this test is.
So this one is similar to the Bechdel test, but it's two persons of color having a conversation about someone who is not white.
No, because no people of color had conversations with one another.
Period.
Or within,
right?
I mean, yeah, I think
end of sentence.
Like diversity wise,
who do we have?
There was just a common thread of lack of diversity through. I mean, obviously, is like girl power movie, but there were. Let's see, we had the judge was a person of color. Didn't really ever have like a conversation.
She does tell Salvatore to sit down.
Yeah.
That's our winner. Sit down, Mr. Salvatore.
Oh, yeah.
That's our winner.
I was going to say, I was like, we've got the pool guy who's a minority.
She does tell him to sit down.
There we go.
And then there was one lady in the hair salon.
Oh, yeah.
When they were doing the bend and snap.
Oh, yeah.
She was talking to Elle, though. No, she wasn't talking.
But yeah, she was.
She's not talking to.
But I mean, I'm just trying to recall anybody who.
No, the judge and Salvatore.
Of any shade other than white.
Are the two.
In the movie.
In the movie. Yeah, no, that's
I think that may be the only.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think we have
That's
to just.
sad.
No, for sure. and I'll just. While I think technically
that's not a conversation,
it qualifies, but at the same time, probably not within the spirit of the contest here, because telling him to sit down is probably not what we're going for.
I would say that's not even a conversation.
No, it was definitely
that's
not.
an order.
Definitely not a conversation.
Yeah.
We didn't miss anything.
Yeah, you can't even have that award.
Robert, did you have any nominations for this?
That's it.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I don't even think that there were any students of color at Harvard.
Yeah, I didn't scan the whole room for that, but I don't know. Yeah, there might have been, but I definitely didn't notice.
I don't think there were any that had speaking lines, or I don't have to watch that back.
Just give me one. Give me one.
I know, just one something.
You know what it made me think about was that first scene when they sit down and they're in their little small groups at Harvard and they're going around the circle and they're talking about I'm 4.0 at Stanford and da-da-da-da-da, and that one guy was like talking about how he scored, what did he score, 1,600 on his SAT?
No, it was his IQ.
Oh, right. And then it was
yeah.
A book was based off of a fourth grade paper. I'm like, but it's happening here. And then
I've got that in best lines because that's one of my favorite lines.
It's crazy.
That's legit too. Like those people really exist in law school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure even more so at Harvard and the Ivy Leagues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
And then L's is at the end. Reese Witherspoon did actually go to Stanford.
Yeah.
Fun fact there. So
okay, see, there you go. Which is, I think, where the author of this book was when she wrote the book. As at Stanford. All right, best juror moment. I had nothing for this. Absolutely nothing.
I don't remember.
I don't think the jury was there. Which in the last movie we didn't have a jury at all. Bench trial, but this one we did have a jury. But I mean,
can you count when the two friends come in to see the end of the trial and they're like, "Oh, it's a real judge and jury."
It's a great, yeah.
Oh my God, there she is, Ella, we came to see your trial. Oh, look how cute! There's like a judge and everything, and jury people. Vote for Elle!
Ladies, take a seat.
Because the way she says it, and I did mention her in the credits, the actress that plays the friend, the brunette friend, but that line about, oh, look, and jury people.
Yeah, that's jury people.
There's a judge and everything. And jury people. And jury people. I just like that people additional word there. It makes it really funny. And it's delivered so perfectly. No, and then I guess Elle kind of does address the jury directly when she's given that story about how the perm was a bad look on her friend from the sorority or whatever.
Yes, and do you remember why?
The wet t-shirt contest,
yeah.
right? Wasn't it?
The wet t-shirt contest ruined the perm. But otherwise, I don't think the jury was really involved at all.
No. Agreed.
Best client moment?
Couple of nominees. So there's just for performance wise, the moment where she breaks down and says, I was doing liposuction.
Yeah, for sure.
I also have wardrobe moments.
Oh, I had this. Yes. Let's talk about wardrobe for the client, because I'm sure this is something you counsel your clients on.
Yeah, are any of those outfits ones that you would recommend?
No. I mean, day 3, the day 3 outfit was okay.
That's what I was like.
Wait,
was last one.
Was that the newspaper jacket?
No, that was day 2. I think the last day she was the most.
I can't remember.
Normal. And that's the thing. It was even outside of the courtroom, those were all terrible choices, even in 2001. I think,
Well, she was a fitness icon, not a fashion icon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so the newspaper that was headlines when she's
that one.
Super notable story, newsworthy trial that's taking place. Probably you don't want to wear the newspaper article to courtroom.
Yeah.
Then day 2, she's got some sort of tank top, deep V, almost bikini combo thing going on there. And then day 3 is the more conservative black but still deep V suit, like pantsuit deal with the gold necklace down the middle, which this gets into the area which is outside of my expertise, but I know that there's a double standard for women when it comes to professional dress, and like you can't, like if you are dressing in any form less than completely Amish, then you are risking being scandalous. Mm-hmm. And if you are dressing too conservatively, then you are prudish. And then, of course, there's judges that actually, I've heard horror stories of judges telling women lawyers that he expects them to wear dresses in his courtroom as opposed to pantsuits.
Yeah, definitely have heard that. So, yeah.
Yikes.
So, but anyway, I think, though, actually, the moment I would give it to Brooke for is when she says, "I'm sorry, did you not hear me? She's my lawyer now."
Firing Callahan is on my list for best client moment for sure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, I know she liked Elle and everything, but that took a lot of guts to kick out the seasoned partner, best criminal lawyer in the state, to let a law student take it over. I mean, realistically, probably, not going to happen and whatever. But just in terms of within the movie and at that point in time, a gutsy call
in the middle of your murder case.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
To roll the dice.
Yeah. So that's a good one. But I do like the lipo one too, though. It's getting lipo.
Yeah.
Trying not to tip off the rest of the people in jail on their calls.
Gosh, and what a good line, thread line through the story for it to be like, okay, well, it has to be something, like here's what she's built her business on, and so it's like, I don't want to ruin my business, but are you willing to go to jail for that? And I guess for her, her namesake, apparently she was. Yeah, so that was an interesting rule.
I just thought of another moment that might pass the Bechdel test.
Oh, here we go.
When Vivian and Elle are starting to get along with one another, and Vivian comes to the dorm room and asks, "Hey, are you done with the deposition?" And they end up sort of sitting down and having a chat. They, at one point in time, talk about Callahan and they talk about Warner. But what I remember in particular is Vivian saying, "Hey, I really admire the fact that you wanted to maintain Brooke's secret."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About the alibi.
Yeah. If you're willing to give a pass to the first part of that conversation, which is all about, why does Callahan make me get coffee? And Warner barely got into law school. His dad made a call.
Doesn't know how to do his laundry.
Yeah. That was, I think, textbook of what we're not looking for. But once that ends, and you transfer into, they actually have a conversation about some other stuff. Yeah. I think that counts. Yeah.
Second half.
The second half of that, for sure.
It's so hard.
It is. No, but it is hard. All right. Best scene. Best scene in the movie. I'll throw out a few. The breakup scene at the beginning. The admission video.
Oh, hi. My name is Elle Woods. And for my admissions essay, I'm going to tell all of you at Harvard why I'm going to make an amazing lawyer.
So good.
Which I hired Coppola to direct. Moving into the dorm, or kind of arriving at school, that first Socratic method exchange with Stromwell, which I do want to talk a little more about. Bend and snap in the nail salon. Going to get the dog is from the guy in the trailer park.
Taking the dog.
And then the last scene of the movie. What others?
Okay, so remind me. So you got the move in, the Socratic exchange, the bend and snap, the going to get the dog.
Yeah.
I missed another one or two. What?
Break up at the beginning.
Yes.
The admission video.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Adrienne, got any candidates?
I mean, I think the bend and snap was like a waste of time. It didn't make any sense to me.
I wanted to talk about it, though, because that's what we were talking about while it was on.
I was confused then. I'm confused now.
I was watching it thinking, okay, what am I missing here? Why is this a move?
Well, and it's one of those things that now, if you say bend and snap to anyone over like 28, they know Like any girl knows that that's from Legally Blonde. Like, but it doesn't make in no world ever is whatever move they were doing done by any human I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I wonder where that came from.
Oh, really? Does your wife not do the bend and snap for you, dude?
No bend and snap.
No.
It's,
No, I'm afraid of what would happen if I asked.
You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah.
Zero kind of dancing anything.
Okay.
So yeah. No. So but I did want to just I'll let you take a second, Robert, if you want to think of any others. But on the Socratic exchange with Stromwell, just a little bit more depth there. So she gets kicked out. The case. This is civil procedure. Is what the class is. The case that she asks her about and then asks Vivian about is Gordon versus Steele, which is a 1974 case in Pennsylvania. And what was interesting about it is it's a diversity jurisdiction question dealing with a student who's off at college, and whether or not leaving the home state, going to college without any plans to return, to then be able to have diversity jurisdiction to go into federal court. The answer that Vivian gives is no, there wasn't diversity jurisdiction there. In the actual case, there was diversity jurisdiction found. So I thought that was interesting that they just either
lies
got that wrong or whatever.
So I would have nominated Salvatore for his moment with Chuck and on the witness stand. But I mean, we've talked about that one so much. I have to, just for the sake of diversity, I have to break that up. I have to choose a different one. So some nominees that I've got the rivalry that's set up between Vivian and Elle in the classroom. Yeah. When Stromwell wants to kick her out of the classroom.
Yeah.
And just that exchange where it's just so good. It's worth looking at.
Elle Woods.
Oh. Actually, I wasn't aware that we had an assignment.
Oh. Vivian Kensington, do you think it's acceptable that Ms. Woods is not prepared?
No. I don't.
Would you support my decision to ask her to leave class and to return only when she is prepared?
Absolutely.
You've got Stromwell is just salivating almost about the fact that she's about to kick this woman out of class. And then she turns and says, Miss Kensington, would you support my decision? And then meanwhile, Elle is behind her in the background and she's got the little head nod. Like she's just like, we're all girls here. We're on the same page. Everything's going to be great. This is just a mistake. Yeah. And then Vivian totally just turns the knife. I would absolutely support you kicking out of the class. And then behind Stromwell's back, she gives that little head shake towards Elle. Oh, that's I love that scene. Okay.
Yep.
Another one that I love is when Elle actually meets Vivian for the first time and realizes that that's Warner's fiance.
Yeah.
And first of all, The Rock, which is like hanging like 12 feet off of her finger because it's like 33 carats. But that moment where Warner calls Vivian Pooh Bear.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That is such a deep cut, because what that means, what I interpret that to mean is all the time, because Vivian and Warner dated in high school.
Right.
So all the time that Warner was calling Elle Pooh Bear when they were dating, she got a hand-me-down pet name. And then he picked it back up and recycled that bad boy and gave it back to Vivian. That is a deep cut.
Oh, yeah. Hardcore, man.
And then my third nominee is Callahan's Class, where Warner and Elle are arguing back and forth about the criminal case.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, the
yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I watched. I
That's a
didn't
good
catch
one.
this. I've never caught this before now, and I didn't even catch it until the second time that I watched it this time. But what's going on here? So Warner. This is a criminal law case. So they're in Callahan's class. It's criminal law, and Warner says, according to Swinney versus Newbert, which stop there, that tells you it's a civil case. So he's citing a civil case in a criminal class. And what he says is that case, which was about custody from sperm donation, it's a real case. It's a real precedent. Swinney versus Newbert.
Yep.
He's saying, when you put it all together, what he's saying is that the defendant in the criminal case shouldn't be charged with stalking because apparently he was sitting outside of some woman's house in the bushes donating sperm. And so therefore, according to the civil case, he was completely within his rights to claim ownership of the sperm, and therefore the state should not be able to charge him with freaking in front of her window.
That's great.
So
oh man, we were talking about the admission video a little before we came on to like that the admission video is so great in so many ways. Just like checking all these like boxes of like what you would think an admissions person would want to hear or something like that, you know,
like in the worst way.
Just like it's so. Can we just listen to that?
I'm able to recall hundreds of important details at the drop of a hat. Hey, Elle, do you know what happened on Days of Our Lives yesterday? Why, yes, Margot, I do. Once again, we join Hope in the search for her identity. As you know, she's been brainwashed by the evil Stefano. I feel comfortable using legal jargon in everyday life. I object. Vote for me, Elle Woods, future lawyer for the class of 2004.
Yeah, so I object.
So here's confession time. This is shout out to Brooke Kellogg in Spokane, Washington, who helped me make my admission video to Cornell University for law school. which was wow. Based on probably not just this movie. There's some other movie, I can't remember what it is, but there's some other movie where a guy is trying to get into a school. It might even be Soul Man, I don't know, but we actually went all around Spokane, Washington, including Gonzaga University's law school, taking footage of me looking law school student-y. So that I could send it to Cornell, and I got waitlisted there. So yay, but I didn't go there. So boo, but
right. Oh man, it's great. I like to like the, trying to show how she's got like a steel trap memory. And the proof of that is I can remember what happened in the soap yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Like it actually might've been impressive. Like what happened in season 3, episode 12 of the soap opera 4 years ago. Like that might've been something, but like, what happened yesterday? The same thing that always happens. Hope is doing her thing. Whatever.
Yeah. And by the way, under the category of maybe too soon, like, can we talk about the vote that the student body was taking on the fact that the janitorial staff wanted to switch from Charmin toilet paper to generic toilet paper? Like, are we ready to talk about, is it safe to talk about that yet? I mean, like,
it is.
I don't know. Like you cannot find
100% right.
You cannot find Charmin in the aisles right now. So that's
no.
Yeah, I was voting from my couch with
trigger
the girls
warning.
On that one.
Sorry.
Yeah. We want the Charmin back.
Absolutely. No. So yeah, I mean, there are so many good scenes. But and then of course, I mean, the final courtroom scene is a good one too. Admission video is my favorite, but you guys can vote however you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
we don't have to consensus on it.
I don't know that there's one good scene per se. But I actually really enjoyed the engagement dress shopping scene where she calls out and kind of claps back at at the shop girl who
Absolutely.
basically assumes that she's just got daddy's credit card and doesn't know anything. And then she leads her on this like path down the stitching, talking about the stitching. And she's like, well, you can't do that kind of stitch because it'll fray the rayon or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. I mean, that was kind of the first scene of like, okay, so she really does kind of know her stuff. And she's actually kind of good at like getting to her point in a way that kind of leads people to, I don't know. That's kind of that first view of like, oh, she would actually make a decent lawyer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's showing off lawyer skills.
I like
for
that.
Sure in that scene.
Yeah, I vote for that one too.
That's a good one. I didn't even have it on the list. We've got babysitters needing to leave, so we may have to split up.
I may have to.
At the end
have to let you guys finish the rest of this.
Yeah.
I got a text message.
Oh, you got an actual text message. Oh, okay, that's serious. All right, Adrienne, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
On the show.
Sure thing. Anytime you need some opinions.
Yes,
I've got them.
We got it. All right. Okay, a quick break to let you know Varsity Search has been retained by a construction law boutique firm in Dallas to help them hire a 2 to 6 year litigation associate. So if you or someone you know might be interested, please email me, Daniel@varsitysearch.com. All right, let's get back to Legally Blonde. Best line in the movie. I actually, what's funny, as I was doing prep for this, I realized I have a lot of lines that I like in this movie, more so than maybe I've jotted down for any other movie we've done thus far. So I'm going to cut some of these out because there's too many for sake of time. But what stands out for you, best lines?
I really only have one, which is in Stromwell's class, the first day. She writes a quote on the board, and the quote is from Aristotle, and it's that the law is reason free from passion. And then she asks the student, who said that, and he knows. And then there's the conversation. She says, "Are you sure?" And then she rakes him over the coals. Are you willing to risk your life on it? Are you willing to risk his life on it? And that is so 100% Socratic method, but just the exchange is great. But the line itself, the law is reason free from passion. That's, I think that I like Elle's spin on it at graduation, where she says passion is a key ingredient to the practice of law and life. So that's, I think the graduation speech version of that is my favorite.
Which you just reminded me. We were talking earlier about were there any students of color. She whacks one over the head with that pencil. Would you risk his life on it?
Oh, what's up with that?
I don't know. But I'm pretty sure, right?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure. Because I was thinking, like, wait, can a teacher whack you with a pencil on the head? Probably not today. But then I was thinking, I think that was a black dude. I'm pretty sure. So I think,
not a good look,
sure,
Stromwell.
No. I'm pretty sure on that one. So now we found our minority student. He's getting whacked with a pencil in the head. Jeez.
Well, it's not February anymore, is it?
No, it's not. So we're some of my favorite best lines. Actually, a couple of them came from Emmett. Like, I like when they're in line to buy the laptop after she's got that bunny suit on, and she just turns around and says, "Don't ask," and he says, "Wasn't gonna." I just like that one. The dad. Oh, we haven't really talked about the dad, but just the martini sipping dad, like beginning and end. So he says, "Law school's for boring and ugly people, and you button are none of those things."
That's good.
And he's got the martini in the hand at the graduation ceremony at the end.
Yes.
It's great. She calls Emmett a butthead in the car.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just called me a butthead. I mean, no one's called me a butthead since about the 9th grade.
Maybe not to your face.
And he's like, I can't believe he called me a butthead. No one said that since 9th grade. And she says, not to your face.
That's good.
Oh, we already said the jury people from the Friends that came in the courtroom. I love that one. I think the most famous one's probably after when she says, like, or he says, you got into Harvard, and she says, what? Like, it's hard. I think that's probably the most famous line. But there's lots of good lines. Good.
You know
good
what's
stuff.
really interesting is to me, this isn't a nomination for favorite line, but it's just a line that sticks out to me, or a conversation that sticks out, is when Callahan has now sexually harassed Elle, and so she's stepped out of the case, and Emmett is meeting with Brooke at the jail. Vivian's there too. And Vivian says something snarky about how Elle is maybe sleeping with Callahan or something like that. And Emmett, who of course knows that that's not true because he was there right after Callahan tried to feel Elle up, and she tells Emmett downstairs, this is what just happened. So Emmett's hot. He's upset about it. And so then Vivian, makes this comment, and he turns to Vivian and says, like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, I mean, record scratch, like he is upset. Yeah. That is a tone change in the movie.
Right. Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Inadmissible evidence.
All right. So, apparently this movie, for those that don't know, was loosely based on, it was based on the book, which is loosely based on a true story. And it's the true story of the author, Amanda Brown. She spent her time at Stanford Law School reading copies of Elle and writing a bunch of letters back home, detailing classmates that she didn't relate to. And then later made a manuscript based on those letters, sent it to an agent. And the agent was drawn to it because the manuscript was actually written on pink paper.
Yeah, I saw that. That's so cool. That's a good one. The LSAT, when they're studying for the LSAT at the library table and the guys are about to start having their party, and somebody's kind of walking Elle through a specific LSAT question. It was an actual question taken from the June 2000 LSAT. So they used a real question for that. There is a Legally Blonde 3 that is in the works.
Do we need a Legally Blonde 3?
Legally Blonde 3 is coming. Reese is back.
Wow.
She's also I think she's also producing. Jennifer Coolidge, who plays Paulette, is back. As are the friends. Those are the only people I could find that are confirmed on the cast, but I think it's written, but it just hasn't been filmed yet. It sounds like Reese did give an interview where it was asked about, and she confirmed it. So it's happening. But I would say with the way Legally Blonde 2 went, this one's probably the last shot to make it a franchise that continues on. So we'll see what happens with Legally Blonde 3.
Okay. The character of Warner Huntington III was based on the autobiography of George W. Bush.
Interesting. Okay. We haven't talked really about Warner at all in this podcast. Couple things about Warner. I love the strolling into the sorority house with the shades on at night. Like actually wearing sunglasses.
The gray suit, the button-up shirt.
And then, I mean, he was always, he breaks up with her because he calls her a Marilyn and he needs a Jackie. And that's got its own set of problems for how you treat people with how you're talking to Elle. But I would say it takes a super dark turn for him in that conference room where he tells Elle to just betray Brooke, think about your future, think about yourself. I mean, it's so like, he's just being so, candid about it and just so direct about it. It's weird. It's like even people that have that kind of attitude normally don't say it with that level of specificity and that direct. It was just a weird thing. I mean, he was always you're not surprised that he says it. It's just weird that he says it like that. That's all.
Yeah,
but
and
anyway.
also it was a weird character shift, but I mean, he was like super. I'm sorry, I gotta say, he's like super conceited, douchey kind of guy.
Yeah.
When he was in California, but then he gets to the East Coast and he's sort of like just a bro. You know, like there's no suits, there's no sunglasses and all that stuff. He's still a jerk, but he's a different variety of jerk at that point.
Right. No, that's right. I forgot, and Adrienne mentioned it before, but I need to clean it up because I didn't do it when we did our best lines in the movie. But in that little student group on the lawn at the beginning when they get there, and the one dude says, it's the guy that's got the big IQ, and he says, "It's been suggested that Stephen Hawking stole his brief history of time from my fourth grade paper." I just love the pause. He has this big dramatic pause.
Aaron Mitchell. I graduated first in my class from Princeton. I have an IQ of 187. And it's been suggested that Stephen Hawking stole his brief history of time from my fourth grade paper.
Cool. From my fourth grade paper.
I didn't catch that. That's hilarious.
That's so great. In the novel, Elle is a member of Delta Gamma, which is a real sorority. And it was changed to Delta Nu in order to avoid problems with the real organization. Similarly, this was supposed to take place at the University of Chicago Law School originally, but then they backed out due to the scene with Callahan and Elle and the ramifications or whatever from that. They didn't want to get involved with, so Harvard was willing to do it, and Chicago backed out.
Yeah, so there's one of the things I've been looking for, and I can't find it, but I remember seeing a special like on HBO, like way back in the day when this was first coming to cable, and it was all about, I mean, it was about a 30-minute deal about how they picked the color for Elwood's character's hair. Because they knew it was going to be blonde, but what texture of blonde, what shade of blonde? Yeah,
blonde.
So there was like this whole thing that they went through in order to get the right shade of blonde. Had her test several different ways, and I think there's actually even a different blonde that she's wearing when she's on the West Coast than a different blonde when she's on the East Coast.
Well, and they also had to film a couple of scenes months after the shoot because they needed to add some stuff in or something at the end. And so by then they had moved on and Elle had cut her hair. And so I think she's in a wig for, I think it might be either the graduation scene or the post-graduation scenes. But anyway, a lot obviously rided on her hair for this movie. Actresses that were supposedly either rumored or approached, or who knows how this all went down. But you wouldn't be surprised probably with most of these. Charlize Theron, Gwyneth Paltrow, Alicia Silverstone. We mentioned Clueless before. Katherine Heigl, Christina Applegate, Mila Jovovich, and Jennifer Love Hewitt were all considered for Elle Woods. What do you think about would any of those be a compelling Elle Woods? Did they hit it right on the head with Reese?
I think that Alicia Silverstone and Reese Witherspoon are the same person. I mean, they're not really, and they've obviously had different careers and different trajectories. But I mean, if you switched one out for the other, I don't think that this movie like changes much. Especially because we've seen Alicia Silverstone is Clueless, right? Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I mean, she definitely can do that role. I think it would be quite different if you had Charlize Theron in that role.
Yeah, well, and like so I think you're right. I think Alicia Silverstone's the natural alternative. Like if like Reese wasn't available, it makes sense to do Alicia Silverstone. Although, like I think Reese's acting chops are, I think probably quite a bit above hers. But Christina Applegate probably has the look and the acting chops, but she just, I think part of what makes what Reese Witherspoon so good in this is just her ability to smile and be happy the entire time for the most part. like, and there's a smile at the end of everything. Like, and I'm sure those other actors could do it, but like, it just seems so natural for her. Whereas, like, I just don't think of Christina Applegate as walking around smiling all the time. I just think about Reese doing that. So, anyway, I don't know. It would have been interesting with Alicia Silverstone or one of these others, but I think they hit it right with Reese.
Yeah,
Witherspoon.
agree.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I think as I watched this the second time, I really do enjoy this movie. I think there's not that many movies about law school. First of all, we'll probably do The Paper Chase at some point, I'm sure. And I was just noticing, and I don't know how I missed it, but the other one that's sort of on the lists for law school movies is Rounders. And I love Rounders. I don't ever think of it as a lawyer movie, but he is in law school, and that's a component. Obviously, his professor is a big part of it. And so there's a couple of other law school movies, but really a pretty small number. And, I think it's fun to watch something we've all been through if we're lawyers in our own way at whatever law school we went to. Just watch other people go through that experience on screen and kind of see what they get right, what they don't, kind of connect with those feelings of Socratic method, first day of class, all that stuff. We've all had that. And so, kind of sizing up who's smart and who's not, and who's in the study group and who's not, and working hard and all that. It's all real. It's all there. And we led off with kind of talking a little bit more about with Adrienne here, talking about some of the women in the business world and the working world and the legal world and all that. From a standpoint of just kind of as a movie and as a law school movie, that's where I think really was fun for me to watch this time around, especially.
Yeah. And I mean, this could have been a lot of different movies, right? This could have, like, at the point that they got to where Callahan is forcing himself on her. This could have turned into a lot of different things. And I appreciated that they didn't shy away from it. I mean, it is not a casual or glance. I mean, fortunately it's the leg, right? But like I'm not trying to say it could have been worse or it wasn't any big deal, but like it felt very heavy. And I think because maybe even there was so much it was clear that her future, her career, and her grades were even riding on, this interaction, what he wanted out of her. And meanwhile, by the way, he's wearing a wedding ring. But it could have gotten pretty real dark and heavy and stayed that way, but it still became a light movie that was about Elle and about, her role basically as a survivor, rather than, as a victim. And, it appropriately minimized, Callahan's, it didn't become about who he was and how important he was, and it became about her overcoming those odds.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think and then once he gets fired, he's basically kind of neutered, essentially, and he's kind of set to the side. Like, here's this giant Harvard law professor, best criminal lawyer in the state. He's going to sit this one out while the powerful female client and the powerful young law student female and the judge is female, like everyone, it's just, they're the ones all ultimately deciding this. So yeah, I think that's right.
What are your thoughts about, we see that Callahan got fired from his position as her lawyer, as Brooke's lawyer, but we don't see what happens to him in regards to the school.
Yeah.
And I think I would have liked to have seen, like at the end where they have sort of like, this is what happens to everybody in the future sort of a thing. I would have liked to have seen Callahan was fired or something like that. Maybe you can't do enough justice to a consequence for him. That would be satisfying because not necessarily because of the actions that's taken, but because he sort of becomes the avatar for all sleazy men that would use their power in that way to gratify themselves sexually. And so there's in some regards, maybe it's just better that he becomes a complete afterthought and completely irrelevant, and we're not going to even talk about him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's right. And that goes to your earlier point about they kind of deal with him, get him out, and then they just don't go back to him. And I think that's right. And I wish we would have been able to keep Adrienne here longer to have her obviously chime in on these Me Too questions and issues and things like that we didn't get to before she had to step out. Because I know she has thoughts about them. But okay. What do we got? Gavel time.
Yeah. So
I've got my number down. By the way,
really?
So I can. I got it on paper. So you can't sway me.
$1, Bob.
One way or the other. Yeah.
Okay. So for background, so as a reminder, we've got At a Few Good Men, I scored a 98. My Cousin Vinny, I did a 99. Witness for the Prosecution, I did a 90. Liar Liar, I did an 88. The Lincoln Lawyer, I did an 85. Marshall, I did an 80. So I'm going to put this one at 89. Right above Liar Liar, right under Witness for the Prosecution.
So you know what's funny? You have this in front of you. I don't. I think I did the exact same thing as you did, a scale or two lower. So I think with my score, which is 87, I go right above Liar Liar and right underneath Witness for the Prosecution.
Wow. So yeah, I can tell you. So you did Witness for the Prosecution. You had an 88. Liar Liar, you had an 84.
Okay, so I was closer to Witness for Prosecution, but in between those two. So I think between the three, me and you are kind of on the same plane in terms of just that grouping of three. So that's good. Yeah. So you went 89, I went 87. I really like this movie. I think it's great, fun, and I hope that they can make a good Legally Blonde 3. I'd see it if it was good.
Yeah.
But I'm going to wait until I know that it's good to see.
Now, I'm going to spend my, I spent my cash dollars to rent this, from Amazon Prime. They are not giving us any money for that, sponsorship free, advertising there, but,
right.
But
I think we actually bought it for like $4 more. I think because we wanted, because I think they were like, we had to rent it too. But then we got on there. It was like $3 to rent, like $7 to buy it or something like that. I was like, oh, fine. Well, I might need the clips. So
I guess now we're obligated to watch Legally Blonde 2.
Oh man, I don't know if you have to. Honestly, I don't know. I'll maybe go read the review or something about it. I don't know if I'm committing to it. I'll check out Legally Blonde 3 if it's good. We'll see. So,
you have any closing arguments?
No, man, that was it. That's what
I
got.
I do want to circle back around to Elle's graduation speech. She says, on her very first day at Harvard, a very wise professor quoted Aristotle, "The law is reason free from passion." Well, no offense to Aristotle, but in my 3 years at Harvard, I have come to find that passion is a key ingredient to the study and practice of law and life. It is with passion, courage of conviction, and strong sense of self that we take our next steps into the world, remembering that first impressions are not always correct. You must always have faith in people, and most importantly, you must always have faith in yourself. And that, I think, is a great synopsis of what this movie is about, and I think it's a good lesson for us.
Hear, hear. I'm dad with the martini. Agreed. Oh, no. Well, this was fun. Thanks to my wife, Adrienne, for being with us throughout this episode. It was a ton of fun to have her guest host with us. And thanks, Robert, as always, for coming on and doing this. This is so much fun. Thanks, everybody at home, for listening. Let us know what you thought, what you think of Legally Blonde. Any other movies we should do in the future? We'd love to hear from you. So hit us up on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere.
MySpace.
So, Friendster. But stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.